Alright, we processed that video. I can do the chart book stuff later. Here we are running the stops above the K period. Here you have to get short somewhere. We might have missed the trade in the 22s. There's 3 contracts traded at 0 at the sell. You can take the 22s, 284 volume, 600 and something. So we're short from the 22s. See a nice cross trade here at the high. There should be an area where they're taking the stops at. Oh, actually, we're in the tail of yesterday, which was 23.75. This is a mistaken entry. There is a very good chance that they're going to take the stops out above the E. So let's get out of this trade. We're going to get out at the market here at 21.50. 21.50. We're out of there. Anytime I find a mistake or discrepancy in my perception or my analysis, I try to get out of the position. That particular time we got out with half a point on 2 contracts minus commissions, so that was the correct decision. What I failed to remember was yesterday's tail in the E period high was 23.75. That makes a high probability that they're going to run the market over 23.75 to take the stops out, which could give you a range all the way up to 25.75. I didn't particularly care to carry 22s all the way up to 26s or 25s if I could avoid it. So we'll look for another opportunity. If we miss the trade, so be it. But I would not dismiss the fact that 23.75, yesterday's high, is vulnerable to stop running. And if that's the case, we'll look for our entries somewhere in the 24s, in the 25s, somewhere up there. So that trade we scratched. We got a half a point on it. 2 contracts. Quickly in, quickly out once we realize the mistake. And we'll look for repositioning. There's an hour and 15 minutes to go, so there's certainly time. We'll see what the market does here. Okay, we see here they on the last negative column bar, this bar, we have a negative delta. On this bar, we have positive delta. This column was an up column, though. This column was a down column. You can see the red triangle. We had a 461 positive bias. I'm still anticipating them to run the stops of yesterday, so we're going to hold tight here. We see the market now retesting the highs up here. Let's watch the cross trade. Watch the pullback delta down here. Negative 400. 1700 delta on the last column. Our pullback column is a neutral column showing negative delta now. I would anticipate one final push up here to take the stops above yesterday's high. That's a selling tail yesterday, so this is the first time we are trading, testing that tail area. You can reference the 0.25 scale ES, NP, Globex, and day session chart. If I did take the 22s here, I'd have to be willing to re-short at the 26s if they do run the stops. You see a negative pullback column. We start to see this column wane. The 22.75s are looking attractive, but it's 50 ask, 25 bid. Let's take the 50s. Even the 50s here. Our first target would be 21.75. That's incorrect. 21.25. There's our fill on the first contract. Our second is the point of control at 17 is our target. 14.17 point of control on the second contract. Our stop now is at 22.50. if we go back to 2250, we'll look for re-entry on the short side maybe after they run the stops, and we'll be patient here and see if we can't get back to the point of control in the 1417 area. They did not tick 2250. They brought it up to 22 1/4, so our stop is intact at 2250, 22 1/4 ask. Let's see if they tick it up. There it is, 2250. So we are out of the market with a 1 1/4 point profit. And we will look now to see if they can push it up past the high of the day and take out the stops above yesterday's E-period high at 2375. That would put us in the high 24, high 25 range. If they don't, then you can look for a re-entry here in the 22s, but you would certainly have to be willing to add additional contracts up there to get to betterment your position. We're going to stand by here and watch this trade and do some work in our chart book, but I would not be surprised to see this move back down toward the mean at 1417. They might have scared me out of my position here, right smack dab on our 2250 stop, and we'll revisit to see if in fact this market does close down toward the 1417 area and draw our conclusions. Alright, they're hitting the bid now, and we should certainly have no problem getting to the mean of the day. Unfortunately, they also hit my entry at 1422 1/2, which means I'm out of the market, and we were able to get a 1 1/4 profit on that trade. And not much opportunity to re-enter here. Maybe on this cross trade you might have recognized that they were starting to hit the bid here at the 1114 area. You know, if you look, it's 22 last time, but that moves pretty quick. Your fill might have been as low as 20 1/4. So this is the area that was the better positioned entry, 2250. Unfortunately, you know, they took it back there and got our stop. So we're going to revisit here, see if it can get back down to 1417, and if that's the case, that trade had the potential to have an additional 5 points. 5 points, that would have been a 6 1/4 point trade between the two contracts, and having them hit our stop sacrificed then the second half of that leg, which was a 5 point trade from 1422 to 1417 and change. So we'll see where it is in a few minutes, and till then. Notice the direction we're going toward the day's point of control. Down here toward the 1417 area. 1419 1/4 bidding, asking half. So we should end the day somewhere down in the 1516 area. 1617 could be a target. 1750 is the point of control. That was incorrect. 1650 is the point of control. So we would expect the market to gravitate toward the 16 to 17 area. This is very interesting. They took it down to 1418, I believe was the intraday M period low, and now we are over yesterday's high in the E period in this stop running range that we spoke about between the 24s and the 25s. Now we have to look for a short position somewhere up here into the close if so desired. I think we missed that. I think we missed that trade. Unless it comes back here. This is the cross trade, 24. Yeah, you could pull 23.75, 23.50s. Could take the 23.50s. Let's take the 23.50s there. Our exit on the first contract, of course, would be 1 1/4 ticks lower at 22.25. There's our first fill at 22 1/4. Or put our break-even stop at our entry at 23.50. The point of control is still down at 16 1/2, so that'll be our target with our break-even stop. Alright, we got stopped out there and only got our point and a quarter, and now we're out of the market.